This meeting is being recorded.
Right, it's at 9 p.m. Okay. Yeah, I think today's topic is also a really interesting one. I'm really looking forward to sharing, not just the slide, but hopefully I can add, some more, all these interesting case and my own thoughts, right, my own experiences into all these different topics. Yeah. As I walk you guys through, my style may be a little bit different from Professor Patrick's, but yeah, let's see. Yeah, we'll get started. So tonight we dive deeper into the exploring individual behavior in organizations, right? So, I mean, individual behavior by it's a very term, right? Um, I think when we put it under the context of organizations, there are these old branches of management. They call it the organizational behavior study. It's one of the MBA topic, really classic. But but I think there are a lot of these changes over the years in this discipline, right? Not just from those classic uh, you know guru like Peter Drucker, but also from the behavioral sciences, and also from all these really interesting and trending, all very predictive kind of personality pattern, right? You guys probably did a lot of these different tests for the Bricken, all these different test online testing for your personality to check and how you fit into different organizations, right? So those are the things that you guys probably already came across. But yeah, let's dive deeper into all these topic. So we have all these light up of the different topic, all the way from introduction to the this topic itself, and also the theoretical foundation of this topic, and also the motivation theory, and also cognitive processes, right? So what are the cognitive processes and decision making, and also the emotional intelligence and its impact on organizational behavior. And there are also these key elements as we because when I was in my 20s, I understand that it's really important to know that knowledge worker will be the central, right? Will be central to any productive organization or any company in the future, right? When I was in my 20s, I read through all these classic books by Peter Drucker. I know that knowledge worker will be central to a functioning organization across the world. So we talk about learning, development, and behavioral, and then there are these influence of cultural and environmental factors, and least but not most, right? And now increasingly, right, the technology and then AI, how AI impact our expectation to work with each other as an organization, as especially as we are entering the age of DAO, right? Decentralized autonomous organization. Increasingly more people will engage in this DAO organization, and the early version of that is probably the gig economy, right? The sharing economy. So Uber driver, right? Different kind of gig economy, and then there is this interplay between individual behavior and organizational performance, right? So what does it mean for a company to measure by their market results or market performance? And how does that translate to the firing, right, and the hiring of the employees in the company, right? And then finally, we would know more about the case study, the application of individual behavior theories, and then we touch upon emerging trends and future directions, and then finally, we also will touch upon the practical implications for managers and organizations. So as I go through all these all these topic, you guys can just raise and stop me or text anything, right, to our chat. So in case you have anything interesting to ask, or you find what I'm saying have certain things you want to add yourself, yeah, feel free to cut in. So there are different unique sets of values and beliefs. Individuals bring their own values, right, and beliefs to the workplace. and all these influence all their value and individual value and belief actually influence what they do and how they make decisions when they are being part of a team and a social organization. And there are also these emotions and cognitive styles. So emotions play the crucial role in shaping our behavior. And I mean, as human being, right? Especially for the people from the engineering background, including myself, I used to have a hard time to understand, what people feel about, my performance and my words and my facial expressions, right? I used to be really ignorant about, other people's, feeling towards myself. And increasingly as I age, right, I understand emotions. It are exactly the very first thing that other people will sense you, right? What kind of people you are, and how are you appearing in front of other people. And this is also, you see, why I'm so deliberate in appearing before my camera right here, right? I have all these different setup, my headset, right? All these are not random, to tell you the truth. I purposely choose the way that I appear on the screen, in when I'm talking to people. I actually treating tonight's occasion also as a way to work, right? So how would I appear among other people? Yeah, that's emotions. So there are also these influential theories, like theories help in understanding behavior patterns. For example, if you are being honest, especially when you talk about things, you're being vulnerable, right? Because it's a really trendy term to be vulnerable. In Chinese, it means 真诚, right? You are honest about, your own weaknesses. So that's why it's so important to strike a, great conversation with other people. If you feel if people can feel that you are vulnerable, right? Being vulnerable is really critical to win other people's hearts, right? And also, we provide a framework for predicting actions, right? Because culture, when we hire people, we always talk about cultural fits, right? So is this guy or this person culturally fit into our organization? So all these are really important, aspects when we are vetting people into or admitting them into our organization. So there are also practical implications for the managers, right? Managers can tailor their approach based on individual, differences, and the effective management also leads to better workplace design. So it's all about how do we look at the culture? How would you like, I mean, all the way from your company's value proposition, what you promise your clients, and how you deliver those services or product to your clients, working all the way backward, right? To how would you like your employee, your team member to feel, to translate, right? As an entrepreneur or as a leader of the organization, you are, totally in charge of that translation. And there are also the importance of, individual behavior. There are basically four, category of aspects. Like firstly, there are the core aspects of individual behavior. So there are actions, attitudes, decisions, and emotional responses. And they are all influences individual performance and teamwork. So the core aspects of individual behavior are all these items. And the impact of organizational behavior affects leadership effectiveness and organizational culture. So the intersection of personal characteristics, the environmental factors. So different culture, people expect different things. So being culturally aware, I think when we talk about, I'm from China, you're from Hong Kong, from Singapore, from Malaya, right? Indonesia, right? Different people from different cultural background, you expect different things. For that's very sure. So the importance of analyzing individual behavior is also something that we, as a leader for a cross-cultural organization, especially when how we organize all the we call them the network of workers, right? Increasingly, we human, the digital, especially when we talk in entering the digital economy era, we are more working together, more like not just like one company, but more like a network of different companies, right? So the individual behavior is central to improving productivity and also, our employee satisfactions. And also great when you structure the right culture and the behavior, and it also foster innovation and addresses workplace diversity, right? Because diversity is good, right? Because if you have this people from this, because I've been working in a really unique culture all my life in China. It's a unique culture, right? But I also engage myself in in my previous career. I also work with other team from Europe, from the Americas. They're all different, right? So how do we ensure that such a diversity by itself will not become a hindrance, right, to the productivity or to the performance of the overall, organization? So that's really key. And finally, and we need when we aware all these individual behavior patterns, and finally, what we actually as a leader of the company, we need to adapt to the changing dynamics of the the markets, right? Eventually, it's the market that actually driving everything, right? Our understanding, if we can lead the whole team to understand the market and what it takes, right, to deliver the kind of product and services to your customers. So those are the final goal of understanding behavior, organizational behavior. So those are essential for evolving technology and global business practices. And also we need to address the challenges like the rapid change and especially AI integration. Yeah, I'll try to get go faster. So I mean the whole lecture here we will organize around this subtopic. For example, we'll go over the foundational theory, and then we will explore the cognitive process and decision making, and also we will look at the role of emotional intelligence, and we also will analyze the impact of learning and development as an individual, right? In a company, and there are also these cultural factors, and finally the interplay or interaction, right, between technology and our behavior. And one of my strongest feeling when I just jump off a China company, a really big company, to a small but well organized US company in Guangzhou in China. I had this really strong sense of how technology will shape the behavior, right? Because in my past career, I transitioned from academia to the software company that are well managed. So in a software company firm, we have all these well-structured processes. There are testing, there are designers, there are deployment engineers. All they are really structured. They are disciplined, right? The technology will also play the critical part to make sure that everyone, right, involving in the software development processes, every role in the team, they exactly do what expected, including the testing, including the delivery. How do we package the software? How do we deliver the software to the client? How do we ensure that the intellectual property of the software are actually well protected, against the illegal copying, things like that. So there are these personality theory first and foremost, right? So there are enduring patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behavior, and also we also need to differentiate individuals. So the personality are things that are on the surface, right? But the character is something, or the capacity of the intellectual capacity are actually something you cannot see. But first and foremost, you would the way you see people are first and foremost their personality. So the personality is the tip of the iceberg, right? Okay. Wilson, can you see the do you guys still send some delay?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, James.
Do you still see a delay? Is it okay now?
It's okay now. Thanks.
Okay. So I'll go ahead. Yeah. So there are five big personality check. There are openness to experiences. So we need reflect the creativity. I mean, we need to reflect on the creativity and curiosity. And there are preferences for novelty and adaptability. And also we also need to be really open so that we can encourage team member to innovate, so that we can keep coming up with something that unexpected but good, right? So a good company culture always like, okay, I don't expect to tell you what to do, but I expect you to deliver something unexpected but good, even better than what we used to have, right? That's the right culture, right? The team always come up with something new but better, right? So that's something, that's the magic of being open, right? Being open to new experiences. And there are also this conscientiousness. So to keep things organized and keep people dependable, and we also need to be disciplined and reliable, and we do what we said, and we stick to whatever plan, right? Because even in a startup company, I know that in a traditional company, you may iterate the whole company structure on an annual basis, right? Every year you change your strategy, but in a startup, typically you need to change the strategy every 1 month or every 3 months. So my rule of thumb is like, okay, in a startup company, we stick to something called strategy for every 3 months. So these are all conscious, we call them the discipline and reliability. If the strategy is not stable enough, the whole team will feel the loss of direction. So that's really bad for the company, or for any, especially for startup, right? If you don't stick to something consistent enough, you even your core member, your core partner will quickly lose patience, or lose lose all they will lose trust, even lose trust in you for as your a top decision maker. So there are also these different personality traits. Some people are extrovert, some are introvert, but in most cases, most of us have both traits, right? because as you look at me, right? Because I'm so used to logical thinking, I actually converted myself from an introvert to extroverted. I look extroverted, but exactly, it's not just because it's not that I was born, or at my younger age I was extroverted. I'm not. I'm actually a introvert myself. But the very drive that I joining a team, the drive that I will do, and I will help other people, the drive that I will perform and lead a team, actually drive myself, turn myself from an introvert to someone who look at me and say, oh, you are so talkative, but you look like an extrovert, but I'm not. So this is something fun, right? To explore how we transition, how are we transition. As you progress in your career, you will gradually discover the nuances between extrovert and introvert. It's just don't try to be judgmental on yourself, and don't try to define yourself as either or, right? You're either extrovert or introvert. No, you're not. Everyone, all of us will have certain part of us are extrovert, some of us are introvert. It really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's all about, are we performing, right? Are we actually helping the team members? So those are the key, the key things that we look at. It's not just you are extrovert or introvert. No, especially when we work with engineers, right? In a team, in an engineering team, we typically have extroverted people, introverted people work together, but you need to respect their boundary, right? Hey, Bruno, yeah, you have something to share?
Thank you, Charles. To be honest, this is quite a good idea, so quite a good concepts that about extrovert or introvert, especially for the age. Sorry I have to say this one, because as I am kind of Gen Z, people are talking about MBTI sometimes. I believe all of you know what is MBTI. Mainly is to say analysis of personality, and introvert and introvert is defined by E and I. It's in Hong Kong. Oh, how E you are, how I you are, something like this. But actually, I just read a lot of books, and as well as study a lot of this about the personality. Sometimes the things that is quite hard for us to define a person. He is introvert, but he is extrovert, because sometimes when he talking to people, he is very outgoing. However, he inside is a shy person. So what I'm seeing is actually we are just in the different circles or different energies that we are floating. And then I also learned a quite good is amateur, right? It's in the middle. In the middle, yeah, you can be extrovert, you can be introvert, but it's in the middle. Just what people that you are hanging out, and then you will be quite outgoing. And then if you are meeting with somebody, oh, you'll be so professional. Maybe they are your principal or your officer, you will be a little bit shy. You don't talk too much. So that is what I see in this part. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruno. Yeah, I think you brought up you know, a really interesting part. So try not to, you know, define yourself in either extrovert or introvert. It's you know, human you know, chats are so complex, right? It's difficult to just using this you know, oversimplified term to refer to yourself. And also there are these really interesting phenomena we call agreeableness, right? I mean, in an organization, especially in Asian culture, because Asian culture is very different from the Western culture, that we came from, you know, all these monarchy, right? All these, you know, kings and all these, you know, feudal systems, and you know, people tend to agree, right? People tend to agree with each other to keep a sense of a harmony, right? But in an organization, especially in a performing organization, most of the time it's very harmful, right? You need to, you know, rate as long as you sense, you know, as long as you sense something that, you know, unusual or, you know, wrong, you need to tell people right at the very spot, right? You need to really direct. You need you don't exactly say, okay, I try to be agreeable, try to make, you know, things harmonized. No, that's not the right culture for a organization to perform and to meet the challenges, because they, at the end of the day, any company, you need to deliver value to your customer. You need to stay together as a learning institution, so that some of the chats, right, some of the personality chat as an organization, if you see that organization with such a agreeable, you know, attitude, that means something wrong. So when people work together, they seem to be not so agreeable. That's probably the healthy culture, right? I don't exactly agree with, you know, either your boss or anyone, and this point itself is so interesting, Aman, because we are, most of us are Asian, right? So this is something we really need to be aware of, right? And there are these chat theory, and also we have this you know, argument between the chat theory and situational approaches. So in the chat theories, they focus on the inherent personality chats, and there are, you know, there are this theory they call the big five personality chat, right? There are also situational approaches. So people will people say that behavior are influenced by context, for sure, and also it includes the organizational culture and work environment. And also modern research also try to integrate both perspective and acknowledges that the influence of both the chats and the situational factors. If you guys want to dive deeper into, you know, probably the one of the most, you know, my personal favorite book is by a psychologist called Steven Pinker. Steven Pinker, who wrote a book called The Blank Slate. I call him the scientist of human nature. So if you really want to understand what is human nature, or we call them the human universals, I suggest you go to look for Steven Pinker's book, The Blank Slate. Yeah, I'll type it out. The Blank Slate. Yeah. So it's a great book. It's a classic, in my opinion. And I'll hop very fast. And everyone knows the Maslow hierarchy of needs, right? So as an individual in an organization, you also be, you know, as you build a business, you build a company, you also need to realize that, you know, all of us are human, right? We all have this different layer of, you know, needs, right? So if you fail on the very fundamental needs, you obviously, you know, for example, if you fail to offer the basic stuff like the safety to your team, then you obviously will fail, you know, on the other, you know, layer that build on top of safety, right? So you can't simply say, yeah, let's focus on the top, you know, needs. No, you can't. You need to go from the bottom to the top, right? If you can't fulfill the basic like safety, then obviously you will fail the other needs. Yeah. And there are these, Herzberg's two-factor theory. So there are the hygiene factors, like the extrinsic elements, like salary and company policies and working conditions, right? And there are also these motivators. We have the intrinsic elements such as the recognition. Also, motivators. There are many motivators for a performing employee. There are also achievement and opportunity for personal growth. And there are also some prevention of dissatisfaction. We need to be very aware of the dissatisfied member of the team and try to figure out why they are dissatisfied and encourage them to be open about it. Yeah. And there are also people organization culture that sometimes people hide their true motivation, which is really bad, right? A good culture for the company is people don't hide their true motivation, right? Nobody should hide their true motivation. They should be really open about it, so that everyone makes sure that whatever we do, we are on the same page. So at the end of the day, the very reason that we analyze all these cultural and personality factors and human factors, everything has to lead to one goal, right? That's the organizational performance, right? Are we performing to a level as we should, right? And there are also this self-determination theory. This is also interesting. I mean, there are three basic psychological needs. Firstly, this is the autonomy. People, by their very nature, right, they have the freedom to make decisions. We are free, individual, agent ourselves. There are this competence element, mastering skills and challenges. This is also fun, right? Because especially when I was younger, I don't always look for the highest paying job, right? I can't always get the highest paying job, but I can always, weigh, the relative importance of, okay, this job, I can see that it will provide something valuable, experiences that I didn't have before. And although it pays less, but that's okay, right? So you see the potential to mastering something, some new skill, and you can foresee that in such a job, you're going to have challenges, the right challenges, right? And we also have this relatedness, the need for social connections in almost in all the jobs, unless you're you've been I mean there are always these different flavor of on different stages. And for me personally, I start out my first job as a really socially connected job role. I need to socially connected with so many people in my first job, and then I got tired, and then I spent my second job as a very solitude job, very technical and solitude. So there is no such a thing say, oh, I'm the person who always stick to a highly socially connected environment. But and you may find it refreshing when you were tired of a highly socially connected environment to a more solitude environment, and you enjoy just being alone and do certain things and explore things just by yourself. There are all these different life stages that you always wanted something drastic changes, because we human are quite complex species. As a individual are very complex. We should be embracing the complex nature of ourselves, right? So so at the end of the day, right, all these understanding are coming from our decision maker or team leaders understanding about human nature, right? This is why I tell you, I highly encourage you to study Steven Pinker's book. He's the absolute guru on human nature. And there are these perception and information processing, and there are perception in organization, and it's about your company's branding, and also the information processing mechanism, right? How do we receive information, store and retrieve them, and what are the cognitive loads, right? Impact decision making effectiveness. And high cognitive load can cause errors and oversight. So we as a leader, right, as we present information to everyone, not just our customer. I mean, foremost, it's our customer, and then our teammate, right? We always need to, factor in, the current knowledge level, the current skill set of our member, so that we don't overload them with, things that they cannot do, right? So I think that's probably the number one secret of a good coach. You always are highly aware of the people you are talking to, what their levels are, right? If you are not sensitive enough, you are, causing a lot of problem for yourself as a leader, as a communicator, to trap yourself into something we call the curse of knowledge. I love the term the curse of knowledge, right? Because it's always my failure to understand what other people understand about the subject. I mean, it is such a important leadership skill that you need to be able to assess what your teammate, your partner, what your customer, right, what they know about the subject, right? If you can assess very accurately what they know about the subject, then you are more likely to come up with the right information, the right kind of conversation that actually move other people, right? If the very purpose of talking and influencing other people is to try to influence them, right? Try to move them to the right direction and make the right decision, right? If you fail in in this cognitive load theory, so let me rephrase the cognitive load theory. We call them the CLT. Is probably the number one secret about good communication. So this is something that I would like you to understand from this particular slide. And there are these decision-making models and biases. So there are all these different mental model, cognitive model, how we human are born, right, with all these emotions, fallibility, and all these tendency to make the wrong decision, all the biases. It's really good to, get, I highly suggest you check on, AI model, right, ChatGPT. So what are the, most common, like, mental models? What are the human, biases, right? Try to get a list of them. If you don't have the time to dive deeper, at least you check the list. Really interesting, yeah. So I will go very, very fast for this. So there are the components of emotional intelligence, right? So there are self-aware and self-regulation. There are motivation, and also the number one skill, that's the empathy. So empathy is the number one skill for everything. And there are the social skills, right? The social skills, it seems to me, it's more like the result, right? Why? So a lot of people say, hey, Chance, you're so sociable. But in fact, I don't, when I was younger, I don't just get out there and make myself sociable. No, I couldn't do that. I was not able to do that. And I'm not able to do that. Why? Because it's all about, my knowledge about a situation, right? My self-awareness. If you put me in a group of strangers, without telling me about their background and things that I should know, then I will perform very poorly, socially, to be honest, because you need all this knowledge, self-awareness, right? And you know yourself, but you also need to know, who you're talking to, so that you can act, you can say things that actually that are good, for them, right? We all, as a human, we have a tendency to cooperate with other people. We have a tendency to reciprocate, right? It's a very important term. It's a little bit difficult to pronounce. It's called reciprocate, or reciprocal, right? Now you have President Trump, right, have these reciprocal tariffs, right? So that's a reciprocal. So just keep in mind, if you see all these elements, all the stuff here, they are good, right? They are important, but there are different, the importance of these different things are not as important as the very human nature of reciprocal, right? If you understand that being reciprocal is the number one, like a social nature. We are a social being ourselves. So if you respect me, I'll respect you, right? If you love me, I'll love you back. If you smile at me, and I'll smile back, right? So those are the nature. And there are this benefit of high EQ in the workplace for sure, right? And there are also some workplaces, there are some leader, they are so high in the hierarchy of the organization. Sometimes they purposefully try to influence their subordinate and people by infusing certain feelings, right? Because if I met such a leadership in my past career that they are so purposeful. And there are also this role in the called AI in emotional intelligence in organizational success. So emotional intelligence can become a predictor of a workplace success. And there are also these positive cultural, organization culture. And these are four, elements, right? The enhancing EI through training programs. So training is also key, right? But in terms of training, what I would promote is more like, really practical and hands-on, tactic, proposed by Andrew Grove, the founder of Intel Corporation. I would say it's the one-on-one talk. So make sure you check that book out, right? One-on-one with Andy Grove. So if you forget everything I said today, and that's the #1 book, and you want it to be really effective in influence your teammate, I would highly suggest you check that book out. It's called One-on-One with Andy Grove. Read that book, and then you quickly will learn the tactic on how to be an effective leader, right? You know what is one-on-one conversation, right? So make sure it's a free book. Make sure that you check it out. So and finally we came to this theory of learning. So we have these behavior. There are behavioralism theory and also social learning theory, and there are also this constructivism theory, right? So all these are higher order theory based on the very fundamental of human nature. So at the very bottom, we have the scientists like Steven Pinker. They frame a whole human behavioral sciences and human nature sciences. But when we say, okay, how would people behave on in a company, in an organization, then they have all these different higher level theories, right? And sometimes you can even say that's the behavioral theories. So I won't go deep, right? Because these are all really classical ones. You can always all I need you to pay attention to is just their name, and then you can always revert back when you want to check out more about what is behavioralism, what is social learning theory, and what is constructivism, right? So this is why the role of training and development is very important, right? So investing in training program is very key to advancing. For example, when I want to open a new factory, make sure that you pick the right partner to train, your new labor force, or transform your existing labor force to make sure that they can adapt to the new, environment, or to the new product or the new location, right? Whatever new. And there are these different types of training initiative. There are on-the-job training, and for the executive level, especially for the manager level, right? And as I just proposed, right? Make sure that you understand, as a leader, make sure you understand, you read the book of One-on-One with Andy Grove, right? So that's the on-the-job training. And there are also these formal educational programs, right? But nowadays, I would say the formal educational programs are also by itself being transformed by how we learn, right? Especially by AI, yeah. And I think that the formal program right nowadays are going to look more like informal program, right? Like what we are doing here tonight. And yeah, even for the master degree, right? I mean, when you engage in all these, discussion, talk, and seminar, we'll always, I think increasingly more all these classroom, experiences and interaction, they're gonna be more like, like a conversational, other than, just one-to-many conversation. Yeah. So I will try to jump quickly here. And there are also these behavioral change and adaptation. So it's very important to have these critical for organizational life, right? It's very necessary due to evolving, external condition. And there are these factors driving change, right? There are technological advancement. There are these market disruption and shift in consumer behavior. And change management strategies is also key, right? You also need to make sure that you have the effective communication. You have, incentive to motivate them. So organizational culture and climate itself, because organization culture, there are these four, aspects about organizational culture. Firstly, you need to have shared value, you have shared belief, and also shared practices. And then you have positive culture enhances job satisfaction and also performance. And any toxic culture leads to conflict and high turnover, for sure. And but at the end of the day, as I said, right, it's all about, okay, what are your team's leader? What are your company's leader? What are your department's leader, right? So the leader itself, herself, is really the key to setting the tone, right, for the team. And we also say, if you are in a bigger organization, for example, when I was working in the higher educational sector in China, we have this, like, China's system, giant system of higher education, university systems, right? There is this big organizational climate. Back in the day when I was still in, university, so there are these nationwide, culture, we call them the cultural climate. So but there are also these subculture, and I think the key, whether you work in a government agency or work in all these different, industries, that industry itself tend to have something shared, right? That's what we call the climate. And then there are, let's talk about the national and societal influences. So Hofstede's cultural dimension theory. So they identifies the key variables affecting behavior, and it includes the individualism versus collectivism, and power distance, uncertainty avoidance, and long-term, orientation, and the impact of individualism versus collectivism. So this is also really interesting in Asia, right? In China, in particular, I personally, I work in a semi-government agency, like a university research branch is sometimes in China is very much like a semi-government, agency. You work with all these government branches. But also when I transition myself to the private sector, I quickly adapt to, the individualism that, the U.S. company in Guangzhou in China, we've been embracing. I used to have U.S. leader and also have Hong Kong leader, right? They are more like each other than different. So I transition myself from a collectivism, culture like the China university, right? They are very collectivism. But when I converted myself to such a company by the year 2009, I quickly found out, a lot of freedom, right? But a lot of freedom suddenly, shoulder rain on my shoulder, and I didn't know what to do with all the freedom. But very soon I realized that those freedom that as an individual also means a lot of responsibility, right? So that's the influence that I got from, engaging myself in a Western style, organization after I transitioned my job from a, a university, which is a, state-run university, to a private company. And this is also why, it's important if you have the chances, right, to go through different organizational style, to work in different job, in different nature of different industry. Very soon you will have these, multinational organization and multicultural organization experiences. So make sure that, when you were younger, I highly encourage you to try to experience different culture, right? So that you will have a comparative, analysis yourself, and, ultimately will contribute to your personal, assets, right? As what it feels like to work in different, company of different ownership structure, right? And then there is this age, right? They talk about digital transformation and work behavior. And first and foremost, right, there are this huge difference between the Asian China and also the Western culture in terms of the use of technology in the workplace. So my first impression when I transitioned from a China company to a US company is like the US company, the software company itself, everything, the technology system, the security measures, the workflow, they all design in a way that they trust nobody, right? When you join a really well managed technology company, built by the Western leader and the structure, they assume that everyone could go bad, right? So that's why you need, really strict, identity of when you use the company computer, you have to be authorized, right? You have to have the right credential. You have to have the right, process, so that when the whole system is designed in a way that they will assume that once an employee went back, the company always had a way to trace back to what you did to the system, right? So that's how it works in the Western style of, you know, when you're using technology in a company. But in a traditional Chinese company, they by nature, by their very culture, they trust you. They trust you. You are a good people by nature. So there used to be not so much, you know, restrictions on, okay, you can log into this computer, you cannot log into the computer, you can access this file, you know. Relatively speaking, in an Asian culture or Chinese culture company, you know, people design, you know, system, the leadership, right, tend to trust the individual human first. I don't say, you know, which style is good or bad, right? But that's how digital, you know, technology is transformed. So technology then redefine, right, the role and the responsibility. So and also the way that different companies use technology also are actually heavily influenced as my example show you, right? How do we set up the security measure by itself? The style of setting up the company, you know, computer access policy itself is a you know, result of their culture, right? So certain culture, they don't trust individual, but they will verify. They trust you, but they will verify you. But certain culture, they trust you, but they also assume that you are good people. Yeah. And then there are all these, you know, really intersection between AI and also behavioral analysis, right? So AI increasingly, as we work in a company, in a software system, increasingly there are a lot of ways to, you know, these are all the aspects that we need to, you know, consider, right? So AI, there is a role in understanding behavior, and there are also these predictive capability of AI when we put AI on top of the big data. For example, the email, you know, when a team they're using the team email increasingly, right? And if they use email a lot, then there is this chance of analyzing, you know, the email communication using AI to figure out things that could go wrong or figure out something, you know, abnormal so that the company can take action, you know, before something bad gonna happen, right? So assume that, you know, in a team email, you always assume that your boss, your colleague, your superior can always check on your work email. What are you talking about, right, with other people using your work email? So these are such a, you know, really classical, you know, setup, right? You have all these auditing, right? We call them the audit trail design pattern for everything corporate. Everything corporate system always have a audit trail on you know, all the users' behavior on their digital system. So once we gain the insight, for sure we can enhance the performance, right? For example, why we have this you know, trend, you know, over the past 20 years to transition from email only, you know, communication at workplace. Maybe some of you haven't, you know, have experiences, right? It used to be the case that email is the only messaging system, but almost 10 years ago, we have something like Slack, we have this messaging app, right? Used together with email. So we have we have more, you know, instant feedback using the chat system in the workplace. So this is something that that also transform how we, you know, collaborate and talk. And also the use of such a technology will also allow the manager to tailor their leadership style, right? So instead of writing an email, you wait for some time, and then people just simply can just do a, you know, a really quick, you know, conversation using a group chat, right, in Slack, in you know, the company chat app. Yeah. So understanding the different, you know, cognitive biases and decision-making style is also very important. It helps teams to avoid the pitfalls and improve the quality of the decisions. I think by the very, you know, maybe if you also went through the historical, you know, period where email is the only game, email is the only repository of corporate communication, then you will also understand why the ability, when you say, okay, we are using a combination of email and messaging, right? So the ability to look at the whole data set of your team's conversation is very important, right? This is why when you say, okay, I'm using Slack, but the feature that you as a administrator for managing a your Slack software, there is a big data. Over time, your team keep using chat to each other, chat to customers using Slack, you always have the ability to monitor and to audit what they are talking about, right? Using the higher pay feature of Slack. Yeah. So at the end of the day, right, when one as a decision maker, whatever we do, even though we put all the security and auditing features in place, we all need to be the end goal, right, for all the stuff is to foster a supportive environment, right? Otherwise, if people work for you and they don't feel supported, then you simply, as a leader, you simply fail the very purpose of hiring other people to help you out, right? So there are all these different aspects, right? There is this communication. You have to be open and transparent, and you also need to ensure that employees feel informed and valued. And you always be a two-way communication, right? Whenever there is a request, there should be the reply, right? It's a feedback. So make sure you have regular constructive feedback and help employee to understand the strength and areas for improvement, and also foster continuous growth, right? Always recognize, their current, issues, but always, recognize their issues in a way that where they improve, right? Where they should go. If you're the leader, if you're more experienced than your teammate, you are in charge, you are responsible, right? You are naturally responsible for telling them where to go, So finally there is this reward, right? How do we reward people? It doesn't have to be a lot of money, like a lot or a pay raise, right? It's always as simple as recognize the progress, recognize other people's progress, recognize something small but good progress, good changes that your other colleagues made. So recognizing and rewarding achievement, and also reinforces positive behaviors, motivate employees to perform at their best, flexible and also stay flexible. And I think when I was still working in the China University, I didn't know that the management theory expert like Peter Drucker. I think he famously stated that a performance organization always figure out the best part of you, and always avoid worst part of you, right? So that's the right culture, right? I know that everyone, you have your weaknesses, you have your strength, but when you join a team or a company that always use the best part of yourself, and that means it's a good organization, it's a good company, right? The leader can recognize your weaknesses, but they try not to say, okay, you are bad. They are not judgmental. They shouldn't be judgmental. They simply are very pragmatic, saying that, okay, you are not good for this job, so please step aside. I'll assign you to something else so that you can make the best of your strength, not trying to fix your weaknesses, right? So the trick to manage a team is not say, okay, let me help you to overcome your weaknesses. No, that's not the right approach. You are not a university as a company. You are not a training institution, right? You don't try to fix people's problems. You always try to avoid their weaknesses. Avoid your teammates' weaknesses. Organize the job, organize work in a way that you maximize the collective strength of everyone, right? So that's the trick, right? You don't fix other people's problem, because firstly it's not your job, because that's your employee's job, right? And then secondly, it's their problem, it's their job to figure it out, how to improve themselves. It's not your job as a boss or superior to fix their problem, right? All you need to do is to avoid their weaknesses, avoid their problem, but also maximize their performance, maximize their strength, in your team, in your company. Yeah. I think we need a break, right? Every 1 hour. So let me also quickly go through this. So we also have this leadership and behavioral influence. So yeah, I simply and I think I already covered this. Yeah. So before we go to the case study, I think we already went through like 45 minutes. So I would say yeah, maybe we should take a break. Yeah, it's like the Pomodoro, right? The tomato clock kind of thing, so that we will stay focused. So yeah, I'll pause here. And anyone have anything to add, or yeah, just raise your hand, or yeah, I'm good. Yeah, or text something that you find interesting, or not interesting. That's okay. Yeah, take a break, 5 minutes break. I think
Yeah.
yeah,
Let's go for 5 minutes breakfast.
yeah. I think it's my personal habit as well. I have this cycle of every 45 minutes, I gave myself a break. I meditate. Most of the time, when I felt extremely tired during the day, I simply will meditate. Yeah, sometimes I meditate for as long as 15 minutes. Yeah. Sometimes even half an hour if I felt I need more time to regain energy to go for the next job, right?
Yes. Okay. That's it.
Hey Bruno, hey everyone. Yeah, we are back.
Yeah, hello.
Hello. Yep, let's keep it going.
Hello,
Yeah,
hello.
we have these. Firstly, we will let me see what can I do with these two case study. So far, you guys have any question or any interesting topic you want to share?
I think for me,
Yeah,
got something to share. Actually, that I would say in two parts because that actually quite a different topics to me, quite a different topic or different experience for me to work out these ideas as well as although you guys seeing the same PPT, we are talking about a lot of things in the behavior. But for me, that is a different topic. That is a different topic of my own experience. The first topic that I see is the leadership. Okay, I think Timothy is not here, but as I give you a strong background story, Mr. Timothy is one of our IT officers or IT directors who is in Singapore, and then we went to Indonesia, Surabaya, as IAU, to discuss about leadership with all the students. And the students asked a lot of things about how to write a paper about the leadership because they need to finish the thesis paper. And as many of you studying master, you know what is thesis paper is. They're talking about leadership, and wow, they're so confused. How exactly we're going to work on that leadership? And remember that as a person that who are working in just one of them working as an HR. HR is kind of like an executioner. What does that mean? You are killing people. You are making everyone unhappy except for the boss or maybe that would be. And yeah, that would one part of leadership. How can you be such a strong strong personality in order to make the students or make the people that who listen to you who know that okay you are great you are great and I will respect you. What chance that is very good. If you respect me, I will respect you, but sometimes it's not like this. Sometimes it's not like this. You respect me and then I dissuade you. Sometimes we like this. So it's quite hard for us to say that this leadership is benefits to everyone, but this leadership is had to be here, has to be here. And the second thing is what I share with the student is not only for the top to the bottoms. It's sometimes it's the bottom to the top, which means that I don't know what you think about this one, but I kind of like this term because I read a book about this one. Is leadership is the servants of the people. So which means that you are going to be so tough, you're going to be so tired, so exhausted to working so long, to making everyone to do their own parts. So that is what I see in the leadership. That is the first topic. And the second topic is that I see actually, we have as you as Chance know, some of you might know that my dream is being a successful entrepreneur that help people to chase the dreams. And while I'm discussing with my own members or friends, they are talking about dreams. Some of them will be talking about, oh, I want to make a lot of money. Some of them maybe just want to have a happy meal. Yeah, I'm not talking about a burger or something like this. Just a happy meal, just an enjoyable meal. So that will be the the wish or the dream that they have. So that is what system come from. The Maslow sorry, the premiums or the leads. Yeah. As I remember, it's some of the pages, but it's okay. You can watch it back. Don't worry about it. Uh, People that will be chasing another goal, or higher goal, higher goal. By this framework, by this knowledge. However, why so many people that who are not having a very, I would say, it's very good life or having a happy meal, but they also be very determined to do something that beyond their way, beyond their mindset. So that is what I see in entrepreneurship. That also what I see in the leadership. They are not having a happy meal every day. They are not having like last go away every day. They're not having like this. They're not having these kind of things. But they will make sure everybody will be happy. Like everybody can have rice to eat, can have noodles to eat. So that's another things that I can see is beyond these models. The model is not really suitable for everyone, just like the leadership. The manager is not only be the top, sometimes it can be the bottom. So that is why I am so touched for this topic. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Bruno. Yeah, you brought on a really important, aspect about my own learning as an entrepreneur myself. I actually transitioned my role from a employee to a owner of a company around the year 2009. I can assure you that I'm going to share a little bit on what is leadership here. To me, leadership is the combination of two types of ownership. You need to own what you can offer to the customer, right? For example, as a leader, right, you are responsible for sales, you're responsible for engineering, you always have a superior. You always can see that, okay, my boss, my superior, if you don't facing the direct customer, then your boss or your superior should be your customer. So you should be able to owe your customer. You should owe the responsibility to your customer. You should always think about, okay, what should I do to contribute to the bottom line of my team, of my company, so that I can deliver the right product and the right services to my customer, to my superior, right? So that's one type of ownership. And then the other type of ownership is you should own the happiness of everyone, including yourself. If you are successful selling stuff, for sure you are already good, right? And make sure that you have income, you have all these delivered and product and services delivered to your customer at the right price, right? That's for external, but internally you have your team, you have your partner, you have your customer, you have your supplier, you have your teammate, you have your employees, right? All these internally facing role, you should also own their happiness. Because you are the number one people to make sure your partner, your supplier, everyone, right, who are standing behind you, are happy. So this is the two direction of kind of ownership. So for me, leadership is not it's not authority. It's not something that somebody else, right, give that authority to you, and just like a government agency, right? You inherit your authority and power from up there. No, it's not like that. For private institution, for private company, you are the channel of ownership. If you are the CEO, if you are the number one boss, you are the single channel that own both types of social network, the external social network and the internal supply chain social network. You are the number one people. So you need to make sure that both direction, there are two types of big social network, right? So these two networks, you need to take care of all of them. But you don't need to do it all yourself, right? You have people work for you. You have the teammate. You always make sure that the element of production, everything behind you, right, before you actually deliver your product and services, are all aligned well with your mission, right, which is to serve your customer. Even including government agency, you can embrace such a mantra as well. If you are the president of a country, you literally always facing the same issue, right? You have your partner, you have your warring, you have your enemy countries, right? then you have the external network of people, and then you have the internal network of people. You need to face two types of networks. So I think this is also one way to look at what is leadership. If you ever run a company or you owe something, you will I mean, this is why I encourage Bruno to go on your track. I think you are on track to to build something great, because you simply look at the start journey. You achieve your dream, right? At the end of the day, I think the theme is about owning. But owning is just one term, but it takes your whole life to experience what it feels like to owe something, right? To owe something that you deliver to your customer, to owe something that you deliver, to the resource that you promise your employee, you promise your supplier, right? So this is something that I encourage you to think about what is leadership. So leadership, at the end of the day, it's it's the capability of owning things. Then once you own things, then you will naturally have the drive, you will have the money, you have the power to tell everyone, what, you're not telling them what they do, right? You simply inspire them, what's next. So basically this is what leadership is all about. Yeah. Thank you, Bruno. And I think we do have a really good discussion on this, apart from the material here. But the material here today is also highly relevant, right? So it's all about different aspects, right? For example, case study 2, we talk about how to leveraging tools to better understand. So these are what we call the tactics, the methods, right? So we implement a lot of things. You wanted to know what's going on with the business. You need to have a good enough system to understand. My screen sharing is paused. Okay, let me see. Did I pause my screen sharing? Hold on a second. I think that
Yes.
I should probably, yeah, sorry, I need to switch back again so that my screen sharing should be back. Okay.
That's good.
So yeah, there are all these different aspects of running a smart institution, but regardless different tool, right? The different aspects of the solution and the system, they all contribute to the bottom line, right? Which is what I said, the ownership stuff, right? So case study 3, the cultural sensitivity in multinational team. So there are challenges in communication and teamwork, and also we need to implement a cross-cultural training program. But the cross-cultural training program in its very essence, right, are just culturally aware or culturally sensitive kind of content and trainer who really understand your religious background, your everything, so that they will help you to integrate, to positively integrate your time and your psychic energy back to the team, back to a contributor to the whole value that your team is going to offer the customer and the market, right? And then we also need to take care of the collaboration and reduce misunderstanding, enhance team effectiveness, and also the importance of a culture. How culture influencing, because internally you are, when you are respecting different culture in your team, different religious, different culture. And then that also shows that as a leader, you will always be, have the capacity to understand your markets, right? If you are not culturally aware, then internally, then you certainly are not culturally aware externally when you're, designing different things for different product or for different market niches, right? So these are the same, right? It's all contribute to your capacity as a leader. Yeah. So the integration of AI in the behavioral sciences, there are all these really interesting 3 aspects, right? There are advancements in AI-driven platform, and there are also capabilities in AI technology, and also there are all these really interesting future prospects of greater integration of AI with behavioral sciences, which is transforming organizational understanding of employee behavior. I think the number one theme here is not like, okay, let's use whatever technology, because technology, themselves, they all need to be aligned with one framework, which is the value of your company, right? How do you enforce the culture? How do you enforce the value? When you look at certain piece of technology, should I use that technology? You always, before you make that decision, you always ask the same question: is it aligned with my company culture? Is it aligned well with my company value? Is it culturally, sensitive enough to accommodate different teammate and in different markets, right? So as we are entering the the remote world, right, especially after 2020, we have this widespread adoption of remote work, and then there are these virtual collaboration tools, and also there are these future research needs to influence individual behavior, and individual behavior increasingly will be put under the context of digital platform like Zoom call, right? But increasingly, we also have other competing product from China, like the Woof meeting and other more advanced tool, right? Some tools they have the real-time translation. So if how do we be aware that okay, since you have real-time translation and transcription, how can we put those feature of a video call in a better use so that we can also make such a conversation more friendly, right? Sometimes you can even go further, say okay, especially for the Web3 company, right? You can also say okay, let's do this call in public, right? Sometimes some topic for your team and company is really good to do it in the public, so so that your team can just go to the Twitter, the x.com, you open a Twitter Spaces, and then you start a regular call, right, among your team, so that the whole world can join and listen to them, right? So that's also one way to be really transparent about the culture, about your company, what you're doing, so that you also leave a record of what you're talking about, right, in the public, as a Twitter Spaces recording, right? So I saw quite a few of these staff and company already doing that. They simply do their, like a build a public session, not on Zoom, not on this, semi-closed, medium platform. They simply do them on Twitter Spaces. So I see quite a few. It's a small team. They do that, yeah, because it's so convenient, right? People can always refer back to their recording and do some AI, summarization to check out what they miss, right? If you can't join them in real time, you can always, because those are public data, yeah, you can always go back there and try to figure out what the company already discussed publicly, right? So increasingly, this is the way to do, like 100% transparent company. I know that Bruno and all these young, member of our community here, we all try to build something in the future. And I would encourage you to challenge yourself to say, okay, can I put more than 50% of my company conversation in public? If you're there to do that, it also means that your team has a competitive advantage over other teams who are less transparent, right? So that's one way to look at, okay, what does it mean to work remotely, to work in a virtual environment where everything you do, right, everything your team are doing, even though you are in different country, in different places, different offices, you always have a transparency layer that help the world to understand what you guys are doing, right? So this is so different from my generation, which is older generation, where everything happened behind the walls, right? So you have the office building, you have these all these corporate stuff. Increasingly, you guys are not already you are not working like that, right? So make sure that you capture the essence, right, of what it means to be virtual, what it means to be remote, right? Just trying to figure out the best part of or the better aspects of being remote and being digital and being virtual, right? So for sure, we also have the need, right, to understand, okay, what is the well-being and what is the mental health? I would say human being are fundamentally the same as compared to like hundreds and thousands of years ago. Right? We are fundamentally the same in many aspects. We all have a lot of these interesting, we call them legacy human nature that won't change fast, right? For example, we love sweet. We like to eat sweet stuff. We love sugar. We love carbohydrate stuff. All these really interesting chats about us. So this is why we need to be highly aware of we call the legacy human nature that are sitting in the way of advancing ourselves, right? Advancing our career, advancing our recognition and understanding about the changing world. Yeah. So for sure, it's very important to have the personalization and employee-centric approaches. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean, right? When we say, okay, since we increasing working in a remote team, so always make sure that all the arrangement are aware of the different needs of the individual, right? Especially for employees who are new mothers, right? You always have the law, you always have the the special care, so that the new mom, the new mothers, they have enough mental all this time, right, to take care of their kids. So all these will translate to a good culture that as a boss, as a manager, you always take care of your employee, right, to be aware of their special needs as as the member of their family. Yeah. Yeah, recruitment and selection I think increasingly in the digital age, also increasingly virtual, and we have all these different gig economy, workplace like Upwork, right, market like gig economy, marketplaces, so that you can get the job, right, and then you get paid with all these different gig economy, sharing economy, we call them labor knowledge workers, labor network, right? Labor market networks, right? Increasingly, all these different jobs network people are going into. So this is more less and less, increasingly these are bigger company behavior. In terms of the percentage of the GDP, will keep decreasing. And for sure, they also use these different psychometric tests, and also there are also all these like a behavioral assessment and the benefits, and all these tests increasingly they will put online and streamline, right? So even though we have this new way of work together, but we also have all these really classical assessment tools to put in place. Tailoring leadership development. So it's important to have the leadership, development, because leaders shape individual behavior, right? And as we just discussed, right, leadership actually coming from ownership, right? Because it's such a fundamental, principle for people who really have the basic economic principle, or the economic knowledge. Then you know that the reason we build a company, it's simply to drive the we call them the transactional cost, right? The transactional cost is the very reason that we need to build a company, to do things together, to build something, to build a product, right? So that we can drive down the transactional cost of human to human collaboration. So that's the very essence. That's the very nature of we call it the nature of the firm, right? If you read these economic classics, right? That's the nature of the firm. What's the nature of the firm, right? Nature of the firm is simply saying that, yeah, good collaboration, good leadership will. So this is also a good way to look at what is leadership development, right? You yourself as a leader, you build a company, you build a team. So the very say you are doing a 10 people team. So why these 10 people work with you? It's simply because they work with you, they earn the same money by putting in less effort. Let me repeat. People work for you because they can be more, they can expect next month they had a paycheck. That's predictable, right? And then that's driving the cost of transaction down, because for employee, they expect a paycheck. So that they don't need to look all around the world for gig economy, job, right? So and then they will be on their own, right? And then the employee will be say, okay, since you as a boss ensure that I'm gonna get a paycheck next month, then I'm gonna be very focused on my role and on my job. So that's how to make this is the very economic principle of why we build a company, right? Because that's the cost. That's the cost on each one of each employee. But the cost but the risk and the unpredictable income for the whole company are actually put on the shoulder of the boss, of the leader. So the leader actually, why they make so much more money than employee is simply because they are the people who will absorb, who will bear the loss, the cost of losing the sales target, right, for the next month, the next quarter, right? So this is this is the very fundamental, principle of economic, of why we work together as a company, right? So there are different risks some people, they are good, have the good position financially to become the boss. So they hire you, they give you a fixed paycheck, and then you should be grateful, right? Because since that paycheck, that salary level, it's something that you already agree with, right? And then you do your best to contribute to the company, right? So this is why we have this whole world working like that. There are always this scientific and principle behind how people work together, right? There are economic principle behind each role in a company, and this is where leadership is coming from, right? So I'm not gonna bore you with the detail because it's already listed here. So effective incentive, yeah, this is also really interesting, right? What is the effective incentive system? Effective incentive system, to me, it's a system where the boss can clearly identify the market demand and the price the market will pay for your company's services and product. And then you align everyone in the company, your employee, your partner, your investor, align their interests in a way that everyone are motivated to contribute. For example, for investor, they have extra money to put in the company to buy your share, to earn a profit much later than everyone else, right? Because they are the investor, right? They probably expect a share sales after 2 years, 1 year, 3 years. So that's investor, right? Employee, they put in their time, their life every month at a fixed time to build something for the company, right? And then the employee, they simply are loyal and they spend their life with you. They do the job every day, every work day, right? And then they deserve the salary, right? So it's such a beautiful system, right? And then the boss, right? You are the boss, and then you look at the whole situation, and then you mix everything together, and then you are the number one people responsible for aligning these different interests. So that's what we call the balancing the extrinsic and the intrinsic rewards. When we talk about extrinsic rewards, right? It's all about the bonuses and the promotion. But what about the intrinsic motivation? It's about the recognition, the growth opportunity for the individuals. And at the end of the day, it's all about alignment, right? So this is why it's so important for a company leader. You have to translate all the way from customer value to the company sales or the company value, all the way to the reward system internally that you decide and implement for yourself, for the shareholder, and also for your employees. So at the end of the day, right, all this effort, it's all about managing change and foster adaptability. So being adaptable is really important. It's the critical skill for employee as well, right? Because if you're not adaptable, why we need to be adaptable? Because we believe that this is the way that the market, why we work as a company. It's not just something random, right? It's not something by law. It's simply by the market forces that drive us to work together as a team to build something together, right? So this is why once we understand the ownership and the leadership, and then it's only natural for us to say, yeah, let's stay agile, let's stay adaptable to whatever market condition changes, right? So when the market are up and down, especially now, right? We have the Trump U.S. government imposing tariff on all possible countries. So what's next, right? Everyone are confused. Everyone are including many Chinese, US, right? But I can assure you, from a really fundamental economic principle, the current US government, they are doing something very historical. It means every country had a new starting point, including Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, everyone, even including people in this room, right? We have the new starting point to say, okay, that only affect the pricing for the commodity and services because people put tariffs, right, on the product import and export. But there gotta be market changes or market movement that if you look carefully, such a crisis, such a drastic change always mean unprecedented opportunities. be really, really careful when we have something. People say, yeah, we are crying. We have all these, trade tariffs and the prices go high. But this is also the great time to look for opportunity, to look at in your market niche, in your country, right? What is missing that people overlook. So when everyone are very, pessimistic, then it's always the good time to look for the good stuff, especially the stock market, right? When we say, okay, if you know how to save money, now is the right time to buy stock, the US stock, right? You look at the Wall Street stocks, everything goes down. You look at the crypto market, everything goes down. So now is the right time to buy new assets. Right? If you have the cash reserve, now it's the right time to find out the entrepreneur, the company who are still kicking, who are still alive. And then you go out and say, okay, can I buy your company? Or okay, can I, buy share from your company? Now is the right time because everyone are scared, right? Because the whole, supply chain are being drastically transformed because of U.S. decision to put tariff on everything, and always find out what are the opportunity at this crisis time. This is something that I would like to cut into the topic today. So I will go quickly for all this topic and yeah. Okay, complementing traditional theory. This is also an interesting topic. So we are augmenting the traditional theory, right? AI tools validate, refine an external traditional model, and it can process large data set to uncover subtle patterns, cognitive science, psychology. I mean, this is all about put things together, right? We have AI models simulate cognitive processes, like memory and decision making. I mean, nowadays, whenever you want to simulate a conversation, for psychological tests, for cognitive tests, everything, you can always prepare your AI agent, right, to simulate such a conversation or even generate some report for you, right? So we are at such a great time where AI will fulfill almost everything you ask for, right? Oh, this is also obvious, right? This is also a sub branches of the biometric user identity system, right? You have the fingerprint, you have the and like the iris scanning, right? All these different biometric stuff. Okay, let's go to this educational aspect. So this is why it's so important to have adaptive learning system, AI algorithm tailored for educational content or individual learners, and analyzes student performance engagement. I think this is where even if you look at the training, right? Because when economic are down like nowadays, uh, the there are few businesses are still good businesses. One of the good businesses I would say is training, because all the people are confused. When the whole world are confused about the future, now is the best time to offer education and training program, right? So because AI already allow us to be really flexible to adjust to whatever situation. Now is probably the best time in human history to become a coach, to become a human coach that you can actually help other people, right? Because everyone are confused right now. And we also have this behavior analytics in education, because once you put the right tool into the digital like a chat app, whatever app, then you always can track everything that used to be very tedious and laborious, right? To automate all these processes, like I'm doing for my my own operation in China. I'm just just a few people, and then I can manage everything using a combination of China's WeChat app, and also the AI agent. I increasingly we are relying on AI agent to do a lot of the Q&A that that actually doing the job for like a 10 people team. So it's so amazing that if you focus on one thing, right, like the whole organization, the whole business, the knowledge about your company, the knowledge about your product, services. If you are good in organizing everything into the AI agent nowadays, then you can just literally run a one-person company. It's just a simple term, right? It's an easy, I just borrowed the term one-person company, but you can also say you can use a 3-person to do 300 people's job, right? It's the perfect time to try something like that nowadays. So this is also something that the big platform like Google, right? All these SEO engine include and all and increasingly the user experiences will be mixed together with AI experiences, right? So I would say the advertising industry will also be transformed because of AI, and used to be the case that people search for information, and then along their journey to search for information, there is this whole machinery of search engine optimization, right? What about AI engine optimization? What about AI engine advertising optimization, right? There are also a new, like a greenfield paradigm. How can we capitalize on AI, application? If you really want to try a advertising, business model on top of an AI, that's possible now, right? But also be very careful about user because the advertising model doesn't necessarily translate well, itself, right? If you can't just copy and paste the same advertising model from the search engine era to the AI era. I don't think you can do that, just copy and paste. You always need to be really careful about, firstly, user experience, right? Make sure that you have good user experience. You don't sacrifice user experience, with the advertising businesses, right? Because people always hate advertising, right? How do you do advertising in a way that, seamlessly, integrate into your user experiences so that people feel, satisfied with your services. At the same time, they also know about the product and services, the brand, the advertisers brand they really wanted to know about. Yeah. So I'll go very quickly and try to get into our Q&A session. I'll skip some of them. Okay, bias and fairness. This is also really key as I enter the because in China, right? We are in the Q2. We had a campaign. It's all about comparative AI. It's all about how do we compare China AI and the AI and other the same product. How do we compare the same product between China and the rest of the other world, right? How do we compare them? And how do we identify the bias? And how do we from a technical perspective, identify what are the technical aspects about the AI system that will contribute, that will lead to bias, that will lead to fairness, that will lead to religious or political issues, right? This is something that we always need to, firstly, you need to work with the technical experts who understand the ins and out of a piece of AI system, so that you always have the technical expert to work with you as the people who are, politically, religiously, and also ethnically aware, about what your market and what your, environment require you to do. Then you should work together to figure out what are the issue with different AI systems, right? So that you can avoid the pitfall. If they don't comply, sorry, you can't use them, right? It's simple as that. Because we don't want to violate, any law. And also the transparency and accountability. Yeah. So the complexity of the AI system, increasing difficulty in ensuring transparency, because the challenge is it's all about the data set, right? Because the AI system is all about where the data coming from, how were they trained, and how can we, fairly use or fairly process and store and transfer and process the learned data, right? We have the raw data, we have the learned data, and then in between the learned data, we have so many layers of different learned data, right? So how do we ensure that these are fair? And if the system is not fair, you will end up with with a shortage of the quality data, right? So this is why transparency and accountability is so important. It's not like, yeah, let's stay compliant, let's stay legal. No, it's not just legal. It's not just to stay compliant. It's not ethical. The very reason we need to be transparent and accountable is also because of the ownership issues. Who are the owner of the data? Are you paying enough for the owner of the data, the quality, the source of the data? If your AI system are not paying enough, the creator, the generator of the quality data, then you will end up with a very unsustainable, AI system, right? If for me, there are critics about DeepSeek, right? Because a lot of people in Chinese, they say, yeah, DeepSeek is so good, but what if DeepSeek in certain way they violated certain rights, they steal some intellectual property? What if that is the truth, right? So you need to think through that before you actually say, okay, DeepSeek is good for integrate into my product, right? So before you actually, whatever AI you're using, you always need to be aware if that piece of technology is going to be sustain itself for a long, long time, right? Because you don't want to say, yeah, let's integrate. Yeah, this is the best AI. Let's integrate it. No, you don't make the decision that way. You always look for the deep down if they are compliant. If that AI system's evolution is sustainable, is it compliant? Is it fair? Is it ethical? Right? So all these aspects, they are not just some textbook requirement. They are just the whole comprehensive decision factor that everyone should consider when you are designing something based on certain piece of technology or AI. You don't just look at the media, right? Yeah, the Chinese are so good in making DeepSeek, right? You don't just make the decision on that. It's stupid, right? Because I'm Chinese, I'm from China. I don't encourage you to say, okay, embrace DeepSeek. I couldn't say that. I only say be really careful and be really comprehensive and holistic in making such a decision whether you use that technology or not using that technology. Yeah. Yeah, this is also something I already covered. Yeah, this is also a really interesting societal implication, right? One aspect that I realized, because I try a new AI app, it's called Grok. It's something that I hope that what I'm saying will be proper and ethical, right? I tried a sexy persona of a Grok. That sexy persona of Grok, as an AI app, you know Grok, right? Grok. It's so good in all these sexuality related topic and conversation, right? It literally can be a companion, a sex partner by itself. So this is something that new to everyone, right? And you need to be aware that it's not human. Even though whether men or women, you could be sexually attached to the sexy persona of Grok. But also be aware that it's a machine. It's Elon Musk is behind the whole thing, right? So you need to be well aware and one that don't get attached. Even if you try, but don't get attached because it's a machine, right? It's a waste. If you're too much attached, if you don't for the purpose of studying the product, you will be running the risk of wasting your life, right, on something that are not true, that are not real, right? So be aware of that, especially for younger men and women. if you are in a situation where you are bad, you're emotional, you are so attached, you are so hunger for a partner, right? Things like that. So this is the societal implication for a piece of technology. This is something that I would like to, because I actually tried that myself, not just out of curiosity. I would like to try how smart that partner, that persona is. So it's really good. It works really good. but yeah, this is something, the dark side of technology. I'm a technology builder. I know that when you really want to understand a piece of technology, you have to try it, you have to use it. Otherwise, you cannot say, you cannot, objectively, right, to review and what it is and say something, valuable. Yeah. So I guess this is I think this is what I have to say. So we already reached the end of today. So today's topic, I think it's all about individual behavior and organization, and we also touch a lot of these really interesting aspects like leadership, ownership. Yeah. Yeah, I like what Bruno said. Right? This is quite scary that to have concept that actually you are into the AI lady. Back then is a guy. Yeah. Yeah. So you have any question, or I will probably try to ask a few questions to see what are the interesting topic that you can take away, right, for today's session. I really want to, because I'm not the guy just buy the book, right, because I believe that Professor Plachik himself is not the buy book guy. He's always like really flexible in evaluating or elaborating the topic and trying to be educational or informational as possible, not just look at the slide and keep repeating the slide to you, which made no sense, right? Yeah. So I think we touched a lot of interesting part, yeah, and even including some really daring part, right, about the bad and the good about technologies, yeah. Maybe I can start a few questions. I had a question for Bruno. So
Okay.
what are your thoughts, right? For I mean, what are your general expectation on how AI can enhance our performance in organization? I mean, what are the aspects that you are personally very interested in and would like to keep exploring? What are the aspects of using AI, right, to enhance our capacity as a individual to work in a organization, whether it's a remote or in person? Yeah. What are the most interesting aspects to you right now?
Wow. Okay. Thank you, Charles, for this question. Actually, quite detailed, I would say. But luckily, you are not asking about the AI lady things. So that is a good good start, I think. Good start for me to finish these questions. And first of all, I will consider in the two things. The first thing is the generative or even the basic knowledge about the AI is what we have here is generative AI, of course, we are talking about, and then they are based on a lot of database, based on a lot of logic, in order or models that according to the machine learning and deep learning, so that they are able to generate the ideas or to generate the results that we want. And actually, I got a very good concept or very good answer from the PPT, which is the behavior. Yeah, it's, of course, there's entire topics about today, but behavior is actually you can consider it's like a database. Why is it like a database? Because of psychology. Sorry for this. This is what we have done in all the histories, and we do data, and then we do the calculations or motivations, and then we say and applications in the end or theory in the end. So behavior sums or behavior actually is data. So by this concept, actually we can do in two ways. The first way that I do is marketing. How can I attract the people that who are interested in, let's say in today's lessons about the behavior? Of course, it will be quite hard if I just public it in the general public and then say, oh, do you think are you interested in behaviorism? Are you interested in behavior? Nobody will listen to me. Nobody will see this as a point. But once we use AI, transform the thing as a behavior into something that they are interested. How exactly it is? leadership. When we are talking about leadership, the people that who are interested in that part or they are already leaders, they will join these sessions. So leadership is one of the things. So a lot of things that we can do in the AI for doing the good or the marketing performance. And the second thing is what I am being struggling. And then I also ask a lot of opinions from AI is sales, yeah, or negotiations. Actually, I can say it's like two phase. The first phase you can consider is sales, is allowing people to buy your products or buy your service, and then the second phase is you can consider that it's a making an agreement. So that is actually negotiation. So sales is also another part that I do for the AI as well as like how I'm going to start the introductions. As we remember that one time that Professor Patrick returned to actually I should not say return went to Hong Kong and then he asking me how exactly the AI programs working on, and then people quite a lot of questions because they are not familiar with AI. So we do it step by step. So the AI telling us, oh, okay, we do that step by step. We starting from basic knowledge and then under the needs of the persons. Like, are you really interested in AI and what exactly you want AI to help you? Some question. Those questions are generated by AI, and then the level 3 is kick the ball. Yeah, kick in. So our porters can solve your own questions, can achieve your goals. So that is step by step within the AI that we can do in the sales as well, in sales negotiations, or even how you deliver a speech. All those I seldom do that, but I remember and I know that a lot of people maybe can use AI to generate speech, or even for the PowerPoint, or even for the materials that you have. You can make it like a data, something like this. So maybe one of the day that we can see a lot of TED talkers use AI. So that is I would say that's what we have been. Okay, I pass back to Charles first.
Cool, thank you, Bruno. Yeah, I think you brought up a really interesting part about how I mean in terms of product and marketing, right? I think what I got the most, if you can look at this, right? This is something that I just built using AI, right? This is the slide for China for the Q because I'm also in charge of the marketing, right? The best way I use AI is not exactly say, okay, let's AI to build a whole slide for me. No, it's not that. I think the best part about AI, why I have this idea, let me show you first. So why I came out with the idea of breaking out from your AI cocoon. This is really one liner, and I would say, okay, what we are going to do for the Q2 as a marketing campaign. So as you know, right, for the marketing campaign, you need to have a theme, right? For example, typically we say this 3 months, Q2 2025, when we do marketing campaign, we need to have a theme for that campaign. So we stick to the theme, and everything we say, everything we promote is about this theme. So why I get this idea is because I compare different idea, and then finally AI helped me to make the decision, say, okay, because we are promoting a international AI certification program called Inky Bias to China market, then why Chinese professional need to enroll in our program? It's because they need a comparative, firstly, it's because they need a comparative, view. Because if you don't get it in China, they don't get it in just in an AI program in another country. They get it in a very hybrid cross-country program like Inky Bias. So AI actually helped me to think about, okay, what are the value proposition for these next 3 months that will help us to stand out the most, right, as a educational program. So I came up with the right tone, the right line. So we, no matter what I'm going to talk about, so here's the powerful part, right? When we try to sell something, we need to connect to our audience. And how do we connect to our audience? It's all because we need to be really, really unique. Sometimes you cannot find why you're unique, but if you talk with the AI enough, you will suddenly realize that, okay, this is something unique, right? It only my company can do, breaking out from your AI cocoon, right? So I came up with this term. I was so happy that I came up with this one-liner simply because it's my positioning. You know, nobody else can do this. It's our positioning. And then I'm gonna do a lot of these other content generation simply based on the same narrative. You know, let me type the word narrative. It's so important. So I think, yeah, Bruno, you brought up a really interesting point. So I mean, if you like AI to do only one thing for your sales and marketing, I would like you to focus on one thing. That's narrative. How do you decide your narrative? So once you find the narrative, and then once you find the narrative, not just you don't need to say, okay, the whole year. No, you only need the narrative for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. That's good. That's good enough. So use AI to help you to figure out what is the right narrative to frame the whole difference. Because I'm gonna say, okay, next 3 months, I'm gonna build like 20 short videos. So the 20 short video only say one thing, only one narrative. So that's breaking out from your AI cocoon. So so I already have a lot of demo. I have a lot of this comparative study, case study, and I can even say, okay, let's figure out 10 of them, 20 of them, 30 of them. Then I have all these short video idea to shoot, to compose, to edit under one value, right? So that's one message. The next 3 months, I'm going to keep shooting that message to my audience until they say, oh yeah, I want to join you. Yeah, I want to join you, right? So there's something beautiful about using AI to generate, you know, idea, you know, to find the unique, you know, value proposition of your product and services. So this is the sales and marketing. You know, I know that you generate copy. Everyone in this room, right? You always know that, okay, I can use them to generate, you know, copy to generate. This is something that we call them the tactical, you know, level. But on the strategy level, when you promote something, you should figure out the term narrative. How do you frame your narrative? It's not easy, right? To be sure, it's not easy. But with AI, if you use Gemini, because I use Gemini a lot, right? I use Gemini Notebook LM. So the more I use Gemini, the more he understands that Gemini AI understand me, understand my company. Then suddenly, I keep asking the question, and then suddenly I have the idea, and the problem is solved. You know. So this is why I have this really simple, you know, idea. AI 点防，指的是我们自己日常过度依赖。So here I even define the problem with AI's help, right? The problem is real, but how do I define it? I use AI to help me to define the problem. And then once people realize this is a problem, this is a value problem, then you are onto a really, you know, good journey to build a good sales, you know, content, right? 会有地域限制，导致我们认知的各种局限性，很跨国的入职和业务的这个项目合作不能理解多元化。You can always keep, you know, going to the very nifty, gifty detail about, you know, all the lower level like concern for the marketing campaign. So yeah, I guess that's the number one, you know, the number one trick that I would share tonight. Yeah, it's something new that I just came out, and I will keep exploring it. Yeah. Yeah, Bruno. Yeah, it's good that you're already working with your sister, right, on this narrative, you know, formation. I think it's a very powerful uses. You know, I mean, people use them for tactical stuff, right? Yeah, let me generate a video, generate this and that. But so many people can do that. But if you want to be the good storyteller, you need to tell people what is the future is going to be like with your company, with your service. So this is the power of framing a narrative. Yeah, and AI is here to help. Yeah. Yeah, I guess we are So anyone want to jump in to share anything?
Okay, go on. Yep, that's it.
I feel that I had a good time, even as a presenter, right? Explaining the, walking you through the concepts, and hopefully everyone, listening, you get something. So okay. We are still recording. So yeah, we can always refer back to what we discussed. Okay.
That's it.
Any other question or topic you would like me to answer or discuss? Okay, so so is it proper, right, to conclude this session? We are like 2 hours, right, already, Bruno?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, you can go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, thank you all for joining this session, and hopefully everyone can get something. Yeah. If you miss certain point, you can always, because we will we gonna publish the recording, right, on YouTube. So you can always refer back to the summary and the YouTube. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.